Schmidt only ever gave this kind of license to Jackanory Sex Pony, who was in many ways his golden pony. To get his pun, because as I said, his name is Sex Onion, and it's like pony. It's like, never mind. The only man with carte blanche to break Schmidt's system is fly half Jugglepen Sex Thrash. Ireland will still travel to Rome, boosted by the return of Jiggery Pokery Sexery Tokery. And the angrier jailmate Sexpenny got, the worse Juggernaut Sexwanger got. Ireland played phases in the 15s infinitely more than they ever have with jacking off sex legs. Schmidt shoots lieutenant on the field. People have been questioning whether the Jingle Bells sex gunk bubble had finally burst. This has been a banner year for Jolly Green Sex Tram. Here he fails to jam in, allowing Janis Joplin Sex Fern to burst through the inside. Dane Coles discussing Jack Frost Sex Christmas.
Rocky's a melody, isn't he?
The system has one human element in the form of the aforementioned Julie Pad Sex Quad. So Joanna Lumley Sex Iron notices this, and a bit of improvisation that I can't show you because the cameras are off. Sex Fan ignores protocol and plays a perfect cross kick to Stockdale, turns to Junebug Sex Mark and calls a move. Except Jingoistic Sex Library is able to give that ball. It seemed last year that Sex Lump had calmed down massively since Rowan Nogara left the country. All game, they flew up on either side of Junefest Sex Dragon. However, the most interesting development on the Irish team came around 23 minutes, as World Player of the Year Jolly Frog Sex Mac was replaced by Joey Carberry. Sexlog brought his trademark mix of manic aggressive fire and cucumber cool game management.
Plan is, Sex Dragon wraps around, which will make a nice change for him. Burn hits our key hits Sex Jungle.
Sex Yogurt has a firmer stamp on every match he plays. Jimbo Bubble Sex Wank holds his hands up as though he's going to catch it. And the fly half, be it Joey Carberry or Jackie Magazine Sex, continue.
Bandifleer through the hole, also softly, instead of passing to Sex Lung.
Has remained reluctant to bring off his star halfback's Jolly Pop Sex Gimp.
But McNichol makes a pretty smart decision to put pressure on the pass to Hanson or Jawlock Sex Futsal.
Sexophone is rushing up to shut down the slight overlap. Toys were landing as far away from the pram as Sex Slam's passes were from their targets, and only give Scotland a second to get up and try and hit jumbo-sized Sex Glass before he crosses for the score. Marchant allowing a successful offload from Joe Johnson's Sex Cup, so Junk Food Sex Field drops back into the pocket and boots it away.
Vitally, they keep Jump Frog Sex Sock on his feet.
Speaking of Jango Fett Sex Loop, he kicked off the scoring for Ireland with this very nicely worked try. Perhaps the best chance to see it across the whole game is in the lead up to Jungle Gym Sex Stand's try. No matter who lends the draw next season's Sex Rhombus will be able to access the good old Irish internet if you can get to Sex Fanny as England, Italy and Wales all did. Just Eat Sex delivery charge flashes to the blindside late,
and Sex Mother can fling it over the top like a Hermes delivery driver
for once Jumbo Cell Sex Lob comes off the pitch. Ireland are going to run a loop. And this Six Nations we saw how emotion, namely anger, can negatively affect Sex Clown's game. Ireland do a bunch of flashy passes and get it to Dewey's Hat Sex Pong. The game management and decision making of captains James Ryan and Jack Attack Sex Greeting, and it becomes up to the centres and Jolly Log Sex Paper to work hard to cover them with the luxury of a bounce to accommodate this. However, whilst Jaw Drop Sex Tango gets there first, Sex Quack has so much ground to cover to get there that a classic case of ball bounce becomes a classic case of eye off the ball and a classic case of Jumbo Pad Sex Wedget fumbling it right into the path of the motoring forward. Juilliard Sex Trap scarcely kicked the ball for position himself. For all his merits, if Jamboree Sex Lip loses his cool, Ireland will lose 9 times out of 10. And this first half was a proper vintage, full-on shouty mouth, purple face, dagger eyes, empty rage, sex trout meltdown. Sex what then calls it out the back.
This side is covered, so Sex Toboggan now decides to flash left.
Jonestown Sex Mustard wasn't the only new captain to cross the try line, as instead of Jackass Sex Ass, this play is managed by a combination of Gary Ringrose and Hugo Keenan. But Stockdale then plays it back infield to his fly half, Jamboree Sex Queen. But Sex Tablet was still able to continue putting him under some pressure by sliding this kick in.
Sex Chicken Anarchy.
How did Jitterbug Sex Queen side power pass Wales? Knowing either ball ends up as a hospital pass, Sex Banana takes it himself, with Sex Wrangle stood behind to wrangle them, as Sex Plank was playing with the accuracy and composure of a dead trout. Johnson steps in, but the ball instead goes to Sex Trousers. The move was completely pointless, and Sex Yam is forced to take it in behind the gain line. Juxtaposed Sextile tries to play the 13 role. This is then recycled to Jumping Jack Sex Bed. Ireland's next chance also involves jiggling Sex Wanker. Aki then gives it short to Sex Hawk. Just compare the way Farrell here, or say Jumbo Wasp Sex Crime here, it allows Juilliard Sex Queen to be his selfish twat self. Gillionaire Sex Cookie is a solid lad. A few minutes later, Jot in the copybook, Sex Flakes, kicks back against the grain and his own body language. None of the mistakes I highlighted are by Sex Harp himself. The ball still filtering through Sex Case's hands.
And here, Jacid Sex Yum flashes round and calls it out from his hooker.
The bigger the moment, the greater the pressure. the more Sex Computer is likely to scream at them, and ultimately, the less accurate Island are. Surfshark can help Sex Chicken enjoy Peaky Blinders. New Captain James Ryan takes after his predecessor Jumbleweed Sex Drop and becomes even more unanimous in turning down penalty opportunities. Wrap around as decoys so they can feed sex sheep. Without Tipperick, there's no one to watch Jewelry Box Sex Pod, and he's able to just canter right through the gap. This must be a mismatch. Sex Chicken tries to go himself, he stops short, but Jodorowsky sets lap. Adapting to the pack's new tempo, Job Pop Sex Drop adjusts his footing. It's about where Job Hunt Sex Queen's highlights reel ends for the day.